Have you ever wondered what it's like to experience the terrifying world of imprisonment? Imagine finding yourself trapped behind bars, surrounded by individuals who have committed the unthinkable, both within the walls of the prison and beyond. In this video, we'll be doing some exciting investigating of 7 most dangerous criminals on the planet. Now, don't be mistaken, this isn't your typical list. We're not talking about just any criminals. We're talking about those whose deeds have etched a haunting mark on history. Let's get started. Coming in at number 7, we have the real Pennywise. Have you ever heard of that hit book, miniseries, and movie? A terrifying clown scares kids and does nasty things. This is fantastic entertainment. You're wondering whether it's all a lie, right? Not quite. In the 1980s, when that hit movie was making waves, John Wayne Gacy was a scary, real-life Pennywise. Gacy first appeared to be a typical husband and father, but what's crazy? Behind his normal appearance was a messed-up private existence. He loved dressing up as Pogo the Clown for some reason. This clown wasn't cheerful like the normal circus clown. Gacy had a darker goal, you know. Gacy volunteered at children's events with evil motives, not to make people laugh. He manipulated those innocent meetings well, you know. He lured as many naive kids as possible to do unfathomable acts. Do you believe in that audaciousness? They located missing persons in his home and adjacent rivers. Guess what? The guy was caught. He was convicted of 33 horrible murders. He's on death row. Indeed, this guy is one of the scariest and most dangerous criminals ever. Before moving on to the next terrifying criminal, keep watching the video till the end, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more videos like these from us. In number 6, take a look at Jason Barnum. To put it mildly, Jason Barnum. He's also known as Eyeball, and once you see him, you'll know why. If you take a quick look at Barnum, you can't help but notice his eye and forehead tattoos. His right eye is inked in bold black, and right on his forehead, there's a tattoo of an eyeball that seems to be looking right at you. Barnum became famous as a serial burglar after a crazy incident in 2012 that really made waves. So they found him hiding out in a hotel, but guess what? When those 2 police officers came closer, he didn't even flinch. He suddenly started shooting and ended up injuring one of the officers. They finally caught him, and he got sentenced to 22 years in prison back in 2015. What landed him in jail? So the charges against him are pretty serious. They include attempted murder, car theft, and burglary. What did he say? He said he committed these crimes to support his addiction to drugs. But let's get back to that distinctive eyeball tattoo. It's a bold mark that tells a story of its own. It's a testament to the lengths some individuals will go to set themselves apart, even if it's in the most unsettling way. Then we have Joseph James DeAngelo in number 5. Can you imagine a time when this person terrorized the nation? Took place from 1974 until 1986. Like DeAngelo had this frightening vibe. He was constantly there, causing problems in the shadows. He broke into 120 residences and killed 13 individuals. So unexpected and heartbreaking. Why the twist? This frightening character was hidden until 2018. Can you believe it? Law enforcement had no notion who committed all those atrocities for years. Next, what happened? They ultimately caught the culprit and brought him to justice with new DNA evidence. What's so scary about his story? It's more than facts. It's about his taunts and threats to victims and cops. Imagine reading a terrifying account from a victim who received a phone call from the abyss. The voice on the other end sounded deathly. Are you getting shivers? DeAngelo, 76, was sentenced to life in prison in August of 2020. But you know, despite his age, he's still intimidating. Considering he was an officer, it is chilling. Even though he was supposed to uphold the law, he seemed to know all the tactics to avoid being caught. Next in line, number 4, medical professional Charles Cullen. If you thought that you were in the hands of a kind angel, meet Charles Cullen, a name that scares you. Be careful, there's much worse going on than the term implies. 1986 was a big year for Charles Cullen. He graduated from nursing school, which is impressive. He started working at hospitals in New Jersey and Pennsylvania for 16 years, and everything went south. It's creepy. This guy seemed kind, but he had wicked plans. He administered lethal amounts to unsuspecting individuals. Something extremely chilling? These drugs work like super harsh pharmaceuticals that can completely impair basic functions. Paralysis took away the ability to speak, breathe, fight, and blink. He must have caused horrible misery to his victims. When they caught this angel of death in 2003, his reign ended. It's chilling to contemplate what transpired. In fact, 29 patients died from his acts. It's worse to imagine that hundreds or more died or suffered significant consequences under his leadership. They weren't shy about Cullen. He received 18 consecutive life sentences without parole. What drove him to such evil? He claimed to be relieving agony, but not all of his victims were dying. It's horrifying that some lives were taken without reason. He adds more tragedy to his story. I wonder if his colleagues, nurses, and doctors knew what was happening during this nightmare. It's pretty creepy and adds a bit of mystery to this chilling story. Coming up next in number 3 is Charles Bronson. Charles Bronson spent much of his life in prison, but most of his insane exploits occurred there. Is it insane? Think of this. 22-year-old Bronson started his criminal career with a 7-year armed robbery sentence. But then things got worse. His reign of terror began. He even started prison fights without provocation. Even worse, he did more evil. He attempted to poison a fellow convict and dug his way out after being transferred to another prison. They isolated him on the Isle of Wight, like a prison. However, the sea couldn't quiet his savage disposition. Even psychiatric facilities couldn't manage him. Each transfer was met with outbursts and violence, making him more difficult to handle. Naturally, he returned to his old ways after a brief taste of freedom. No prison would take him because he was too dangerous. After a long search, he located a place to stay. Unfortunately, he kidnapped a jail librarian. Can you accept his demands? He wanted a helicopter, an inflatable toy, and tea. Can you imagine? Solitary confinement didn't finish him. He held a prison guard captive next. He was so nasty they had to cage him like a wild animal. But the tale continues. In his second prison, he took 3 additional hostages and destroyed his cell. His criminal record is a violent masterclass. In 2021, he starts living at Buckinghamshire's super high security HM prison, Woodhill. Coming up next is the Red Ripper. Red Ripper, whose name is a chilling nod to Jack the Ripper. This modern villain, Andrei Chikatilo, originated in Rostov, in what is now Russia, but was part of the Soviet Union. Over the course of 12 years, he left a horrific legacy, murdering 52 women and children. Like his historical analog, he was always suspected of something, but never seriously convicted of anything. In 1990, Chikatilo fell into a trap that the police had set. When he was first caught, he admitted to killing 36 people. But there was more to this deadly mystery than greeted the eye. His admission was only the beginning. In 1992, his conviction for the brutal slayings of 52 people is a frightening witness to his evil nature. However, justice did not ultimately triumph in the end. The Russian police appeared to be looking for some divine punishment. In a terrible turn of events, Chikatilo had his life snatched. It's a sobering reminder that evil may lurk even in the service of righteousness. Last, we have AILEEN WUORNOS. In this gripping tale, the title character is a lady so monstrously nasty that she earned the appellation Monster. You won't soon forget this story. In fact, a film was made about her, with Charlize Theron winning accolades for her portrayal of this tragic figure. Don't let AILEEN WUORNOS' gender mislead you. Malevolence is not exclusive to either sex. Her very name instills fear in the hearts of her listeners. AILEEN, who committed her 7 murders in 1989 and 1990, challenged the notion that evil cannot have a female face. She had a difficult upbringing that led her down a bad road. But when her misdeeds were exposed in 1991, the roar of wrath drowned out any sympathy that might have been felt. 4 days after her arrest, she admitted to her heinous crimes. She had even become more notorious throughout her 11 years in prison. But what makes her stand out is not only the number of people she has killed. It is her chilling lack of remorse. She gave a performance that was equal parts bizarre and terrifying in court, which unnerved both the jury and the judge. The court system and the public were out for blood after her horrific actions. What was the rationale behind her severe punishment? She showed no remorse whatsoever, and she even went so far as to say she would do it all over again if she had the chance.
Handled by you.
May your wife and kids get raped.
I would ask that you would
Right
point the
in the
public defender's
ass.
office.
Okay, I'll
Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more interesting upcoming videos.